Setting your prices based on what your competitors charge is one of the fastest ways you're going to be misunderstood, undervalued, and worst case scenario, still broke. So let me explain. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Alan. I get to help entrepreneurs get to price with confidence. So back to the video. When you're starting out, you're always going to be tempted to look up to what others are charging. You're going to look up to the big competitors in your business and then get to price that. And you're going to be doing this, fingers crossed, hoping that it all gets to work out. And yeah, it might work or it might not work. But guess what? Here's the problem you're always going to be missing out. And that is pricing isn't copy and paste. It's in fact contest. There are lots of things that tend to happen behind the face value of just what pricing is. And some of them are cost of production, brand positioning, target audience, back-end offers, and how long one gets to spend in the game. So when you get to charge exactly what others are charging, when you get to charge what your competitors are charging, without knowing the reason or without knowing why they even get to charge that in the first place, you'll end up being misunderstood, undervalued, and worst case scenario, you do not get to transform, you do not get to grow. In other words, you stay broke. And then here are some of the reasons I think it is not always right to copy what others are charging and make it your own. One, different value equals different pricing. You might be out there, you're the fastest guy when it comes to delivery, you're the fastest guy or the best person when it comes to giving better customer or user experience, or even the first guy to give better client support. And just because your pricing is modeled after the people that your clients or your future prospect assume or attach the word average, it's also going to make you as an average person. Yeah. So that should be kept in mind. Two, every business model is unique. Someone might be charging less because they're making their money somewhere else, right? Because their model gets to sponsor that. In fact, they might be selling courses, they might be selling affiliates, or they might have affiliates, and they also might be selling in large volumes. And later on, I'll give you an example of how this really affected my business until I had to snap out of it. Yeah. But they got to be, or they might be selling in large volumes. So there comes you only have one price offer, and everything is based on that. It has to support that. How do you even get to even start competing with such people that have like various ways of how they make money? Yeah, because to them, you might even be shocked that what you yourself you're selling as your premium offer is what they are giving out as a low end ticket or as a low minimum price offer. So that also has to be kept in mind. And lastly, your competitors might as well be undercharging without them knowing. We need to understand facts that just because they look well established, it doesn't mean they're profitable. Maybe along the way, somewhere, somehow, they got their numbers wrong. They got their facts wrong. So they are selling at a price which they think it's profitable, but it is not. So when you yourself go out there and start modeling exactly what they're doing, you might also end up falling under the same ditch of underpricing that they're doing without them knowing. So the rule of thumb here is that never copy someone whose books you've not looked at. That is it. If you keep that in mind, you will be way different. You'll be way ahead of those who get to copy their competitors. Now, here's the example I said I would give you. Back then, when I was just starting out my business in plumbing, I would go out there, procure some products, procure some items, and then put in my business to sell. So, at what price was I selling? Well, I was looking at the big guns, the big players in the game that were selling the same prices or selling the same commodities that I was selling, looking at how much they would charge. And then I would model that and then charge the same. Why? Maybe because I was new to the game, I didn't know exactly what I'm trying to teach to you. So I thought by copying them, I'll be profitable. But guess what? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I wasn't making sales. And in fact, I reached a certain point where I was discouraged, and I reached a point where I wanted to give up on business and stop doing business anymore. But after that, I got to realize that the big players I was copying, they were far, far, far well established. How? One, they were shipping the products or the commodities themselves. And you know with shipping, you get to ship at a price that is very low. And then when you bring it in the country where you are, or when you bring it in the business where you are, you sell it at a price that is higher so that you get to realize a bigger margin. What was I doing? I was, in fact, buying from these same people and then selling at the price that they are selling in hopes that I'll get to be in business or compete with them. And that was a mistake I was making. Yeah. So you might also be there thinking that, yeah, I should also be copying what these guys are doing. But just this example I'm giving you about myself, maybe will give you a wake up call. And then the other thing these guys were doing, they were selling or they were charging less, but for large volumes. Yeah? So for them, they were establishing themselves, or their business model was selling to businesses, not to final consumer, as I was doing. And then when you're selling to business, you're going to charge less, but these guys are going to be buying in large volumes. So regardless of whether you're charging less with minimum profit, the fact that you're charging for large volumes, you're going to realize like a lot of profits. And that isn't the case. Those are the things that I myself weren't aware of that these guys were doing. And it costed me a lot. So never make that mistake. So my whole point here is do not copy, do not guess. Build your pricing based on your cost studies, your capacity, your volumes, and your goals. And also, the other thing that I would want you to keep in mind is that your competitors should always be there to inspire you, but not define who you are. So, if you've watched this video to this point and you're tired of second guessing your price, just drop clinics in the comment section and I'll get to send you my free pricing confidence checklist.